My name is Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson. I'm the Executive Director of Act Today, and I'm here to support this amazing cause for military families with children with autism. Most military families move on average every 2 years. Oftentimes they have a parent who's deployed. With 1 in 68 military children being diagnosed with autism, it's just more critical than ever that we give them the support they need for care and services. This is the 8th year of our run. It's always a great event for the San Diego community, the fitness community, and the military community to come out and support military children with autism.
So nice to see so many people out here this morning, not only providing their support morally and emotionally for these families, but financially. And so they're raising a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars. It all goes to treatment and some of the things that these families may not otherwise be able to afford. And so we're just proud to be a part of it.
There's a children's race as well, and it's all kinds of fun too that's mixed up in it all.
This is our 8th year being the title sponsor of the One Hope Act Today Family 5K, 10K Family Festival. And we believe doing good is doing good business. The main thing that we're out here today is because of our Cabernet supports Act Today. And with our Cabernet, we donate back towards Act Today, and we've donated over 2,000 hours of ABA therapy.
Gunny Gitmo came all the way out here from Palm Springs to support this because we do have a son that has autism. And so we come out here to do the support for it all the time. We do a lot of fundraisers out in Palm Springs also.
We had a huge Stroller Warriors group out here. I run with Stroller Warriors Miramar. We had a bunch of ladies run their first ever 10K today. It was amazing. I have a personal connection to autism. My son Ethan has autism.
I'm in the Navy, and I ran the inaugural Act Today 5K back in 2011, I think it was. And so every time I come back to San Diego, I try and make it around this time so I can come run this race.
I'm a 14-year military spouse who has been through 4 deployments with my husband. He's running today right now, so I'm just very happy to be here. Anytime an organization is out here helping military families, I'm always here to support because they're here to help families like me.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod, and that was a video that we just saw that Samantha shot and edited, and we have to say big kudos to her, but it was for your event.
Yes, which was April 27th.
And what a beautiful, beautiful event that you guys were out in the sunshine, doing some healthy things and drinking some good wine and making some money for some families that have kids that are on the spectrum that are also in the military.
Yes.
So what a beautiful thing.
And people can still contribute. They can go to our website at act-today.org.
And you should do that.
Yeah.
Because there are families in need.
There are.
And if you are in a place where you have anything to spare today, my goodness, it could help somebody else.
It could.
And make you feel good for the rest of the day. I also we have to, at the start of the show, I'm a bad friend. That, you know, one of the things I do, I try every morning, I try to go on Facebook and look and see whose birthday it is today and whose birthday it is next week, and say at least
there's
say
so
happy.
many though.
Yes, but I try to look every day, and then it's terrible because every once in a while I'll take a day and lock myself away from Facebook, and I did it on the wrong day this year because I'm oblivious, and I was editing all day Sunday and Saturday and Sunday, so I missed Miss Nancy's birthday.
Oh, that's okay.
So we wanted to say happy birthday to you. Look at that.
Thank you. How pretty. What a great graphic you guys did.
Well, that's all Samantha, and
thank you, Samantha. Samantha.
we have a little bit of cake for you in a little while, but a very little bit of cake.
Okay.
But when I miss your birthday, here's the funny thing about this, and you know I admire you so, and you're an amazing mom and an amazing autism mom. And years ago, I discovered that another autism mom that I love and adore and respect and admire, it's her birthday too. So I not only missed your birthday, but I missed Carrie Mallory Thompson's birthday as well.
Okay.
And so we're also wishing a very happy birthday to Carrie Mallory Thompson.
Okay.
How I could possibly miss the two of your birthdays, it's like, you know, is my head somewhere that it should not be. I apologize profusely, because
You don't need to do
if
that.
there's any day that I want to celebrate two incredible women, boy, Saturday, an epic day, and I missed it entirely.
Well, thank
So,
you for
happy
your
birthday.
belated wishes. I really do appreciate it.
Well, I wished I'd had him on the day, but you know, moving on. So we have several news stories for you, but we've
Yes.
got two amazing guests, so we kind of have to
Yeah, we have
pedal to the metal.
Yeah, we have to push through these. The first one is, can this AI-powered baby translator help diagnose autism? There was she's a UCLA computational neuropsychologist. What a title, huh?
There we go.
And when she heard her first child, she was clueless about interpreting her infant's cries. But then by the time her third child came along, she realized that she had become fluent and learned which sounds meant feed me, which meant changed me. And she wondered if she could train an algorithm to do the same thing.
Which is pretty amazing. We probably all, because our kids were maybe 4 and 5 when they started coming out and saying that they were able to figure out, they can tell you when your baby cries, if it is hungry, and that they're very distinct cries. You didn't know that when Wyatt was a baby,
No, I
did
did
you?
not.
I didn't know that when Jem was a baby, but shortly after that I heard that, and I knew moms that were like, oh, it's really true, I can tell this one means this. But to be able to have an app or a machine that you can hold up to the baby and it recognizes it, and then to be able to predict autism, is there a different cry? I mean, then we get into the sci-fi about this, which is really cool.
Very cool.
I'm amazed. I love how much energy is spent trying to look and diagnose earlier.
Yes.
Since we know that early diagnosis makes a difference, I'm thrilled. So Ariana Anderson, moving and shaking. But we've got a little while before we can purchase this ourselves.
Exactly.
But I'm trying to see where we got this from. Science Magazine. If you want to know more about that, go to Science Magazine, how it might be able to predict whether a baby's going to have autism. Then we move on to Canada. There's a new article that's out talking about the fact that, gosh darn it, pediatricians in Canada don't always agree with diagnosis. They tend to be missing about 25% of the
autism diagnosis
that a specialist would diagnose.
Right.
And we were talking beforehand, and I said this is kind of one of those heard around the world. That if you're really wanting to get your child diagnosed and you really have concerns, this just corroborates for us that you need to go to a specialist, that a pediatrician is more likely, even in Canada, to not get it right.
Exactly.
So 25% of the time. I think that's probably across the world, don't you,
I would
Nancy?
imagine, if not a higher rate.
Right. So I know people go, well, I talked to the pediatrician, right? My son, I talked to the pediatrician, and by the way, here in the United States, she missed it. And you?
Yeah. My son's pediatrician missed it for several years.
And there you have our informal study saying, you know, don't just go to the regular pediatrician. If you have questions, listen to your gut. Okay, more information about
more kind of sci-fi. Can infant eyes predict autism?
And this one for me is a little bit of a duh too, although I hadn't thought of this. And I like that what they've seen is that babies who later on are going to get diagnosed will strongly react to sudden changes in light. Doesn't that make sense?
Yes,
because
it does
of the
make
sensory
sense.
processing and all of this stuff. But if you begin to see that your baby is responding to light, this can be an early warning sign now. So this is in Nature Neuroscience, and it's a study that's coming out of the Uppsala University in Sweden.
Right.
I just want to go to Uppsala. I have my undergraduate degree from Uppsala. Doesn't that sound great? And And then the one of the leading people on the study is Falk Urder.
Okay.
So Sweden, let's go to Sweden. They just have better names.
They do have better names.
Let's go see Dr. Falk Urder at Uppsala
University.
Yes,
Okay.
let's do it. Okay, I'm silly today. Not enough sleep.
And then the education department seeks to lay up idea rule.
Yeah. Now, okay, this one, I always try to leave something good for the end,
Right.
except this time.
Right.
This is not one of the good things. So, there's a lot of stuff going on, and we're all trying to monitor all the stuff that's going on and all the little changes here and what do they mean. So, back in December, on December 15th, when we were all a little busy because everybody was celebrating Hanukkah and the holidays, Betsy DeVos and her little education department decided, there's this last minute thing that Obama did where he was trying to create a way to level the playing field for looking at how children are dealt with in special ed in the United States. Because what they noticed before is that all states have to report who are you diagnosing, where are you placing them, and how are you disciplining them? Except different states were doing it in different ways to cover up for the fact that there was a huge disparity based on the color of your skin.
Right.
And so he put in place something, one of the last things that he did that would level the playing field, that just said, we're going to ask you to report on this, but every state is going to report on it in exactly the same way, so that we're not comparing oranges to apples. Because we know that it's a way to cover up disparity and to make sure that kids don't get what they need. Well, and so the education department has looked at this and said, we don't really need this. So we're going to try to halt it for 2 years. We're going to say we don't need this because it would cost us money to be fair to all of the kids.
Right.
And so there was so this happened on December 15th, and they said there was an open period of comment, which closed 2 days ago.
Right.
And I didn't find out about it until yesterday.
Okay.
And this makes me mad.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some stuff is slipping past us. This is a very big deal. I don't know what's going to happen as a result of this, but the comment period is over. I'm making a vow to all of you here, and I hope that you will back to us, that we've got to, as a group, if you see something like this, send it to us. Because I don't want this kind of stuff to get past us. We could have all been commenting on this. And in the meantime, what it does is it puts it back on us. If you think that your child is being discriminated against, you're going to have to stick up for them that much more.
That's right.
And especially for our kids in underserved population, we know that there are kids that are of different ethnic backgrounds, different races, that are not getting the same treatment. And this just furthers it. And I don't know why how anybody can say that this is a good idea when they asked one school official. The schools are going along with it. And when they asked one school official why, he said, because, we really can't afford this.
Right. But the disability advocates are warning against any delay, and
it's ridiculous.
Yes, it is.
It's ridiculous. Let's just compare apples to apples. What are you hiding?
Exactly.
And it makes me mad. We should all be mad about this, and we have to do a better job of letting each other know when stuff like this is happening, because they're putting one over on our kids, and it's not right. But ask me how I really feel.
How do you really feel, Shannon?
Right? We have great guests today, and I feel really excited about that.
We have a book called, the author of the book, Why Didn't They Just Say That? Teaching Secondary Students with High Functioning Autism, Decoding the Social World, using a program that she calls Peerspective.
Love it. And this, basically, this is the keys to the kingdom right here. She's got everything that you would need to be able to teach this. I found it fascinating, and I can't wait to talk with her about it. And then a little bit later on in the show, we have Molly Fuller from Molly Fuller Designs, that I love the fact that she is designing clothing for teens on the spectrum. You and I have talked about this before.
Yes, we have.
That there's so many times that you see, and we've got, for heaven's sake, PBS is partnering with people to make a line of clothing for children, and we love that.
Right.
But then suddenly your child moves into the young adult category, and there's not a thing for them. Molly's making a difference.
She sure is. So we're going to have her on the show as well. So we're going to take a quick break.
Yep.
And we'll be back.
Neurodiversity in parents. One big happy family? We hope so. Anyway, what is neurodiversity? Everybody's talking a lot about it these days. Neurodiversity means that there's a view that people with autism just have a different way of being, and they should be honored for that. And then parents oftentimes look at autism as a disability or a disorder, and that can create some conflict. We sometimes throw up our hands, neurodiversity or neurodiversity. There can actually be some issues around this that we need to think about together. First of all, neurodiversity could be positive because it can create more of kind of a sense of acceptance in society. Yes, these people have autism, they're just different. It could possibly help create a sense of self-esteem that's improved in people with autism. They just realize, okay, I'm not damaged, I'm not bad, whatever, I'm just different. So that could be useful. On the downside, it could be an excuse to not give services to people with autism, to not have much empathy for their parents, and to not look at ways that they can be helped. And in many people that have autism, they do very well. Other people do not do well at all. They can't access services, they cannot enjoy their life, they're in pain. So it is important that we understand it's not just one issue. So how do we solve this when we look at neurodiversity? I think we have to look at it this way. It's kind of like when you have that big family dinner at Thanksgiving and everybody's around the table, you got your uncle, your aunt, your kids, your parents, everyone has an opinion. It doesn't necessarily mesh. And I think the way that we need to think about this is we need to respect each other's opinion, because actually we need each other. We need to be allies on this. The outside world is a big place for people with autism spectrum disorders and their families. We have to remember, we're one big, happy, dysfunctional family, and we need to behave that way. We should respect each other, listen to each other, and we will all have a great time when it comes time to get together and celebrate the lives of people with autism.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Thrilled to be here.
And now we are back with, as promised, author Jennifer Schmidt, who is also quite an educator.
Yes, she's got more than 20 years experience. She's coming to us from Beaver Creek High School in Beaver Creek, Ohio. And she is the author of this amazing book that is a curriculum for something she calls Perspective, something that she's been doing in the classroom with teenagers for years with huge gratifying results. And we're really excited to have her with us to talk about this particular program. So first of all, Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be on your program today to talk about something I'm so passionate about.
Well, and with good reason, because this is let's start with the name, right? Perspective.
What does it mean?
Absolutely. Well, I'm working with students with mostly high-functioning autism, and I'm using the evidence-based practice of peer mentoring to intentionally teach social skills. And most of our students on the spectrum struggle with perspective taking or theory of mind. So that's where perspective comes from.
Okay. And for people who haven't been in this community for very long, when you say theory of mind, a lot of times they go,
yeah,
or perspective taking. I said that to somebody the other day, and I'm so used to it. And the friend said to me, honey, I have no idea what that means.
Right.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Can you explain theory of mind?
Absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that, Shannon. Sometimes when we're in the field, we forget to be a little more careful about using vocab words. Theory of mind is basically understanding that different people have different thoughts and feelings about different situations. So what I might think about a certain situation, you may have a different perspective. People on the spectrum have a really hard time understanding that. They think their perspective is perhaps the only one. But it is definitely a skill that can be taught and needs to be taught.
I love you at each section of the book, you have a quote from one of your students, and they're hilarious.
They are very funny.
And very insightful. And there's one at some point where the young person says, I just realized that I'm not the center of everything, or something. I'm paraphrasing. And I can't even imagine how delightful that moment was. But, you know, everybody needs to come to that realization at some point that, oh, it doesn't all revolve around me, and that you're having feelings about what you're feeling, and I'm having feelings about what I'm feeling, and they're not the same thing. And that we have different agendas. So I absolutely love that, and love that you've included those comments, because they are so insightful. insightful. I just would want to hug that kid who
Right.
said, I just realized it's not about me.
And then there's another one. Do I look like I have a particle accelerator in my backyard? I love that one too.
We found this really so informative and exciting. And I think let's back up for just a second. How did you realize to do this, Jennifer, when you were with your students? What was the aha moment and you thought, okay, this is how I'm going to do this?
Well, I was sitting at lunch one day with my friend who's the speech and language pathologist, and we were a little bit frustrated because we felt like we were working together and, really intentionally teaching these skills. But then when we reach out to the general teachers, they would say they're not seeing any change. So we went to the evidence-based practice and we pulled together some things and wrote a proposal. So we decided we needed to be more intentional about teaching these skills, and we needed to do it for a longer period of time. And the peer modeling, of course, is an evidence-based practice, and it's really, really important. So we really went to the literature and designed the curriculum around that.
Let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. It's divided into units, and unit 1 is on trust and team building, which is an interesting start.
Yeah. Well, trust and team building is probably the most important unit that we have because unfortunately a lot of our students on the spectrum haven't been treated very in a kind way by their peers. Most of them have experienced some sort of bullying, and so in order to be able to learn from their peers, they have to be able to trust them, and that happens with rapport building and with those shared experiences. That's why we do that unit first.
And I love that you give us in this, it's a manual. You give us the curriculum and you give us worksheets and assessment tools and even proposals that we can use to get the school to do some of the different things that you suggest in the curriculum. How to get them to want to do the field trip, the words to say to do all of that. It's pretty impressive. I have to say one of my favorite parts was talking about getting your kid ready for a school dance. And the checklist for those, I have to go to a wedding next week and I went, where has this been? I needed this checklist, right? Because sometimes I know people, you're good at that, Nancy.
What?
If you had to pack to go to a wedding,
right.
For you, this would be a non-starter and you could get this done and it would be no big deal. But for me, it's a little overwhelming. I just have to be honest.
Right.
It's not my thing. So to have a checklist and to put all
I need
the
it
things,
for myself.
Well, honestly, I think it could help anyway. And I love the fact that it's customizable, that there's a checklist for the boys, there's a checklist for the girls, but it's not sexist in that it says, some girls may want to get their fingernails done and others may not. And I really kind of loved that attention to detail, Jennifer. I thought, man, as an ex-classroom teacher, this is a powerful book here.
Oh, thank you so much. The great thing about that checklist is it was created by peers in a collaborative process. And so the book is really a compilation of all kinds of cool activities that we've done. And a lot of the ideas are straight from the peers. So I'm glad that you like that. I get that comment a lot that everybody needs to take this class. So you're definitely not alone, Shannon.
And we're showing pictures of some of the pictures that you send us of students, because you go out into the world, you go on field trips, you have your prom and your dance and all of those different things. And you know what? That stuff's important.
Yes.
And anybody who says otherwise, I don't think they get it. How important it is to feel included and to do all these things and to be able to get the most out of it. It's so clever. So who would you say that this manual is for? I love the fact that you, first of all, did this in the classroom and then took the time to pass it on. But who are you hoping this gets to, Jennifer?
Oh, thank you. Really, any classroom teacher can integrate social skills into their classroom. If they want to just pull a few lessons and integrate it into a general classroom, that would work. the manual is for an intervention specialist or special educator to start their class. And that way it's from start to finish, from the proposal right down to the final exam. It's all included in the book. And all of the handouts that you see at the end, AAPC did a wonderful job of creating a URL, which is also in the book, so that teachers can easily go to that link and then customize anything that is a handout. So I love that, because as a classroom teacher, it's just time is of the essence, and that makes it so much easier. But basically, speech pathologists, parents, I'm hearing a lot of parents say that they're finding this book helpful too. So really anybody that wants to help someone with autism intentionally learn social skills.
I just love it. And there's even, I love Appendix 3. There's even this sample letter that you can write to the school administration saying, we want to teach this class. Here's the rationale. Here are the units. Here's the class structure. Here's the classroom that you should put it in it, someplace near the lunchroom. I think it's a great thing for everybody, parents, teachers, school administrators. I think that it's fabulous. I understand that you have a special code if our viewers want to purchase the book. Let's talk about where they can get it and what the special code is so that they can get a discount.
I will have to get that code from my editor. She's probably frantically texting
We have it.
it
We
to
already.
me.
We have it up
you
on the
have
screen.
it.
Yeah.
We have it. It's on the screen right now.
Good.
I'm
and
sorry,
you
we
can
just
get
didn't
it-
share it with you, Jennifer. We're sharing it with everybody else but you. Sorry about that.
No, I can roll with the punches. No worries. You can get it on Autism Asperger Publishing Company's website, and that's where the promotional code will work.
Okay, and
Okay.
we just put it up there, and so
Can we put it back up though, Samantha, so we can read it for anybody who's listening on
It's
iTunes?
Peerspective 20.
There we go.
That's all one word. Peerspective 20.
And honestly, this is an amazing thing that you did.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled that Beaver Creek City Schools was kind enough to let me think outside the box. Very thankful to Cindy Brinson, who was my speech path at the time, and she helped me develop this curriculum, and just honored to get to do this kind of work. As you know, these students are spectacular, and they deserve to have success in life, which social skills obviously is a big part of that. But you're right, they also need to have a good quality of life. They need to feel connected and to have those relationships and those memories from high school. So thank you so much. I really appreciate
And
it.
a lot of these are life skills, not just high school skills, correct?
Absolutely. We are, Beaver Creek is allowing myself and another teacher, Megan Tomlin, to, and also the speech path, Elise Graves, to start this at our middle school as well. So it's going to look a little bit different, but we're working on that this summer, and it'll start in the fall. You know, that's one of the things I loved about the way that AAPC helped me design the layout of the book, is that it really could be modified and differentiated for any grade level, because you're right, Nancy, they're life skills.
Right.
Like for instance, in the appendix, I love the appendix. I mean, this is, I'm so excited. There's the sample mall scavenger hunt. If you've got an afternoon with your kiddo and you don't know what to do, and sometimes they've got another kiddo together, to send them in the mall to do this, so that they have to go up to guest services and say, how do you rent a stroller? All the skills that you're working on to do that, and to be able to do it in a safe environment when you don't need the stroller.
Right.
And then they go up to the cookie place and ask, how much advance time do you need to personalize, put on a name for a birthday? These are important things, and they'll have fun doing it because it's a scavenger hunt, and they get points, and they have to self-reflect. Just so love this. So thank you so much for doing this. We haven't talked about the fact that over the years you've seen tremendous success from your students. What's your favorite success story?
Oh gosh, that's so hard to come up with a favorite.
Or just
I think
Just one.
think
Doesn't have to be your
probably-
favorite. We don't have to do
Okay.
Sophie's choice here.
I think probably a student I had in my very first class, he sort of was one of the students that inspired Cindy and I to think outside the box a little bit. He always told me that he would be a nutty professor, and I'm adjuncting at a local college, and I bumped into him, and he's working on his doctorate. So to me,
Amazing.
that just is inspiring because it's so brave for him to continue to push himself. And I'm thankful that the local college also sees how brilliant he is. And he's right where he's supposed to be. So
And you
to
gave him
think
some
that,
tools.
I'm seriously humbled to think that this course was a part of that success. So
Wow.
thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you helping me get the word out.
And how can people get the book?
Go to Autism Asperger Publishing Company's website, or AAPC, and I imagine it's pretty easy to find. I know that if you search Schmidt or Perspective, it does pop up.
Okay, and
And
the
you
book
can
is
use the-
titled, Why Didn't They Just Say That? Why didn't they just
Okay.
say that?
Right.
Yeah. There's so many different ways we could read it. But really incredible. Thank you so much for doing this. I know there are a lot of people. They're going to get a lot out of this. It's really lovely.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for the work you both do.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Take care.
All right.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, we got to
So,
take a quick
A
break.
quick break, and we're going to come back with the designer of clothing.
Molly
for
Fuller.
Molly Fuller. Okay,
Stick
stay
with
with
us.
us.
I am Alexis Weinman at the Future Horizons Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. It helped me in a way because it was a format that I was not used to. Like, I had never curled my hair before. I've never worn heels. I didn't know what foundation was. And it was just, it was a very, like, it helped me more in a business sense. Like, I know how to present myself in front of people now. That's something my mom drilled into my head. I have trouble sometimes with it. Like, you introduced yourself to me downstairs, and so I immediately, like, and I've heard of you before, so I was like, I know this person, I can make eye contact with this person. And if I'm talking to someone I don't know, or if I'm listening to someone give a speech, most of the time my head will be down. I don't look at people in the eye, but if it's someone I know I need to make eye contact with, I make eye contact. But my mom growing up, she, especially after the diagnosis, she would always like grab my hand if I was like, you know, looking everywhere else but her, and she'd like say, look me in the eye. And so she wouldn't let go of my hand until I looked her in the eye. I do feel like I have to do play part because, you know, sometimes there'll be jokes I don't understand, but I'll laugh at anyway. There'll be situations that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm gonna have to play along anyway. And I think I just found out, like, I'm just a tremendously amazing liar. Like, I can pretend like I'm uncomfortable with something when in actuality I am screaming inside, or I know the moment I get back to my dorm room I'm gonna start screaming or having a meltdown or something like that. But I also know that there is a time and a place because there isn't any safe rooms available in neurotypical society. Like, we have to make our own. And, you know, on a college campus, there's not many places you can go and scream without attracting attention. The way I explain it to people is, you know, people's brains are like hamster wheels. Eventually, the hamster's got to take a break. Autistic brains aren't like that. They just keep going and going and going. So we can't stop thinking about things. There's, like, that's why a lot of kids with autism have sleep problems, because they can't fall asleep because they have too much on their brain. They can't sleep because they're thinking too much. And I think just the walking in circles, there's no thought to a circle. Like, it's just, like, so I'll just plug in my earphones so I can't hear anything else.
Autism is a neurodevelopment disorder that's considered a spectrum of disorders. One person might be verbal, whereas another might be nonverbal. So it can make someone hypersensitive, where everything is intensified, or it can make them hyposensitive, where everything is diminished, and so therefore they're kind of seeking out that sensory input. I was observing in a hospital with the occupational therapist, and they were pointing out to me and telling me how the products that were currently available to these teens made them stand out more and that they were getting bullied more.
When you're a parent with an autistic child, you're looking for anything that would help them.
There needs to be a better solution out there and better products for these teens. And just because someone has a medical condition doesn't mean they don't care about or don't deserve style and quality. Compression is a form of deep pressure therapy, which a lot of occupational therapists use for people with autism, especially those who are hyposensitive, because it helps give them that firm sensory input that they're looking for, and it can help a person feel grounded, it can help relax them, calm them down, and even help them focus.
He just seemed a little more calm in the shirt. One of the first times he wore it, I brought him to church, and he was able to sit through the whole service.
My shirt really focuses on that deep pressure therapy, whereas Nike and Under Armour really focus more on blood flow promotion. So they have 5 to 8% spandex in their shirt, whereas mine has 12% spandex. I've also been really intentional with the design, so it's super soft material. It's all tagless, even the seams are really soft. And then I've also added in stylistic details that help make the shirt stand out in a good way, but also provide that sensory input for people if they need it.
And we are back, and you just saw a wonderful video about our next guest, Molly Fuller of Molly Fuller Design. Molly has a background in fashion design and transitioned into designing better patient experiences in healthcare. She worked on designing digital tools, physical products, and service experiences at the Mayo Clinic, Harkin Health, and now Stella. And she wanted to make better design clothing for medical purposes because, as she said in the video, she believes that just because somebody has a medical condition doesn't mean that they don't deserve or care about style and quality. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
We're thrilled to have you here. You've got the shirts there in the background. Let's start by talking a little bit about there's very specific things in the design of the shirt, and let's talk about why you designed them the way that you did.
Yeah, so the first thing that's really unique about it, I think, and different is the elastic trim. So that's on the sleeve hem of both the short sleeve and the long sleeve, because it acts as a tactile input for someone who needs something to fidget with or just rub, but looks stylish into the shirt as well. And then the seams are all flat seams so that they're not irritating to the skin. It's a thicker spandex material, so your Nike and Under Armours typically have 5 to 8% spandex, and this has 12, and longer in the hips as well, so that it kind of hugs people where they need it and can provide that length.
Well, and I love the seams and the way you've cut it. It's very flattering, and it does have a lot of style. I know if I showed a picture of that to my son would want one of those shirts. He'd be like, ooh, I want to do my Nerf battles in that shirt, which I think, it's got sort of a very hip but forward-leaning look to it. It's stylish.
It is stylish, very stylish.
And are the seams the way, I don't know what that's called, when you have the seams that come down the middle instead of having it be the seams on the side, is that just for fashion, or is part of that function for the individuals with autism too?
A little bit of both, so definitely style, and then also being able to apply more pressure in the actual panel on the side. So there's still a side seam, but it adds a little bit more compression as well.
Interesting.
What is some of the feedback that you've gotten on the shirt?
It's been positive so far. It's been great. I had my favorite feedback was from a teen in Ohio that I was actually testing with, and his students that his other peers that he was with said that they liked the shirt and they thought it looked soft and nice and they wanted one themselves. And so that's the whole point, right? Is that you can't tell that just by wearing this someone has autism or doesn't.
And you have a personal story behind this. You're with your grandfather, correct?
Yeah, so I don't have autism actually in my family or have a close connection other than kind of just knowing friends. But my grandpa has polio, and so I've always watched him grow up using canes and then a wheelchair, and he always likes to look really nice. And so, you know, when I went into fashion design, I actually originally went into it to design clothing for people in wheelchairs, because I just saw that his pants always rode up really high on his waist and that his blazers didn't quite fit right. So looking at how to use fashion but apply it for medical and purposes.
You're clever, and I love that. Now, right now, you've got shirts, and you've got the long sleeve shirt, and you've got the short sleeve shirt, but you just did an Indiegogo campaign to be able to add the next piece. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that just wrapped up on May 2nd, and I hit my goal, so that was really exciting. And that's going to help me be able to do pants, so looking at how to actually make some stylish pants that apply compression in the right places, are also just really soft and look good. And then also looking at doing a blazer as well. So for teens who need to go to, like you just had on about prom, going to special events or to weddings, you know, give them something that still looks good, but actually is applying that compression and that soft material that they need and desire.
So maybe talk to us a little bit about your process, because have you already designed the pants, or are you designing the pants right now?
Designing the pants right now. So what I like to do is I like to be really inclusive in my design process. So I'll start out with sketches of the product and then kind of get feedback on those from parents and teens, and then actually have a sample made of that and then test it out with kids. So for the first shirt, I tested it with a kid in Ohio and had him provide me with feedback, and then made it in multiple sizes and tested it with a bunch of different kids who have autism throughout the US to make sure that just the fit was right and that it was applying the right amount of compression, and then go from there into actual manufacturing. So I'll take the same approach with the pants as well.
Well, Nancy and I have teenagers on the spectrum, and they are very different in their styles and very different in what they wear and what they like. And but so if you ever need somebody to try things out, I think our boys would be happy to try things out.
Yes, absolutely.
And they're vastly different inseam too. They're my son is 6'2", and is Wyatt? Is he like 5'10"?
No, he's only about 5'8".
Oh, I thought he was taller
no,
than me.
He's about 5'8".
Oh my goodness. But still growing.
Right, still growing.
He's going to be taller. So anyway, let us know if you need some testers.
Yes, my son is one of those kids that doesn't like hard clothing. He likes the gym shorts and the t-shirts. So it's difficult to get him into pants with buttons and zippers and hard waistbands.
And he would rather wear sweatpants, which I think my kid would rather wear sweatpants, but my kid is in that phase where it's got to look cool.
Okay.
And what I think is cool and what he thinks is cool are vastly different. But I can tell you that he would think that shirt was cool because he had me get something similar to that.
And it's actually got a name, the Charlie shirt, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And who is Charlie?
Was there a Charlie?
Is a cousin of mine who he passed away unfortunately 2 years ago. He was 28 and he was a very talented artist, and so always had a big heart. And so I knew that this would be something. Everyone was like, "You got to come up with a name for your shirt." I was like, "Well, I'm gonna name it after my cousin."
I love that.
That's nice.
That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So now let's get down to brass tacks here. If somebody wants to buy, right now they can buy the shirt, the long sleeve or the short sleeve. And the trim that we're seeing there, that's elastic. I was thinking it was reflective.
Yeah, it's a gripper elastic material.
Okay.
So it actually kind of has a lot of texture to it.
Very cool. But where can we get them, Molly?
MollyFullerDesign.com.
Okay.
And we've got that up on the screen right there, MollyFullerDesign.com, if you're interested in getting this shirt.
Now, what we have is mollyfuller.design. Is that correct?
Yep, that's the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
In there.
All right.
Okay, great.
Want to make sure. And so we can go there. We can order the long sleeve or the short sleeve. When do you think we're going to be able to order pants?
I'm anticipating hopefully to have some samples made of those by the end of the summer. So probably more fall, winter is when they'll be ready for production.
And I just think clever, because we were talking, how long has it taken? But now suddenly there are all these manufacturers that are understanding the sensory component, and they're starting to make clothes for younger kids.
That's right.
But we really aren't seeing people do it for the older kids. I think you're ahead of the curve here, Molly, but I think it's going to be a hot minute before a manufacturer comes to you and says, we want to know what you're doing. We want to do more of what we're doing. What's your vision for this company? What would you like to have happen?
Yeah, I would love to continue to expand it. I'm open to, if in the future another company manufacturing is already doing the sensory-friendly clothing, to start to adapt and license the designs off to them as well. My goal is to kind of continue to expand even outside of autism as well, so other conditions that require medical-based clothing that don't ever really get the attention that they deserve.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for anybody who's got, we talk about all the time the kiddos who like to be in the pool, that love water, and we really honestly think that part of it is just that
The
light
pressure.
pressure. This shirt, it mimics that. So I definitely want to encourage people, give it a try and see. Are you also doing it in other colors besides black, Molly?
Currently, I just have it in black. I've kind of taken the Henry Ford approach that you can have it in any color you like as long as it's black. Expanding it and adding more colors. I'll also have a wolf graphic print that I have a friend from college, Haley Badenhop, who also designed a wolf graphic that will be printed on the shirts as well.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Very cool. Very fun. All right.
Okay.
Well, Molly, thank you so much. We want to encourage people to go to Molly Fuller Designs and check it.
MollyFuller.design.
There we go. And check it out because it's clever.
Very clever.
Very, very
Congratulations on it, Molly.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
What's fun is that I can picture
I
both.
would wear that shirt.
Right? I would look like the Michelin Man in that shirt, but other than that, but I can picture both Wyatt and Jem liking that, and that in and of itself is kind of a cool thing, right?
Yes, definitely.
Because they have very different styles and things that they're into, and I think they would both like it, so I think that's remarkable. All right, we should take, I don't know, we don't really have time for a break, do we, Samantha? Short break, and then we'll be right back. Stick with us.
Hello, fellow activists. Last segment, we talked about step 3, get support. Step number 4 is don't compare, run your own race. Now, it's one thing to aspire to be like someone that's really helped their child. We all want to do that. That's really different than keeping up with the Joneses. That only serves to make you envious and full of regret. There will always be someone who has a child with autism who is doing better than yours, and there will always be someone who has a child with autism who's doing worse than yours. One morning I was talking to the mom of a recovered child who told me he had been moved into the gifted class. Well, I had heard that week that my own son, who was in 5th grade, was reading at 1st grade level. Now, I have to admit, I was kind of proud of him until that phone call, which put me over the edge. The green-eyed monster of jealousy. Well, later that same day, I got into the elevator as I was taking my son to clinic. There was a father with his 2 sons, one typical and one with severe autism. He was pretty much nonverbal, but he did make some very strange sounds over and over again. He had bite marks, scratches all over his arms. He wore mittens to protect him from himself. The father, however, had a big smile on his face. Needless to say, the universe was sending me a message that day. Don't compare. Be grateful for the progress your child has made and will continue to make. So until next time, keep running your own race at your own pace. Don't forget to stop for water and keep the faith.
Well, that's so interesting because I did that piece on running your own race and not comparing, but that's something I have a hard time putting into place.
But to be fair, I think we all have a hard time with
Do
that,
you?
Nancy. Of course we do. We all compare. And I think that's the reason why you did that piece, because on our best day, we're not comparing.
No.
We're just being.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But on the tough days, I think if we look closely, we're like, well, why does that person have that?
Exactly.
And why?
And why is their kid doing so much better than mine? And it's hard not to go back. For me, one of the things I kick myself about a lot is that I didn't get an earlier diagnosis when I knew that something was wrong, and I just let my pediatrician, which we had the story at the top of the show about pediatricians not diagnosing accurately, a 20% lower diagnosis rate in Canada. I listened to my pediatrician, and even though I had severe doubts about that. And then why didn't I find out about CARD earlier? Well, I just didn't. It's not something, I can't go back and change that.
I
right?
know. It's hard, and I think this is the singular part of all of our experiences. All of us have a different experience with when our child, when we realized that they had autism, when they were diagnosed. But the things that we all have in common is that we all have these feelings. We all feel that we're alone, that we are completely alone and don't know what to do and didn't know where to go, and that somehow that's our fault.
Yes,
that
we do take it on ourselves.
That we didn't know where to go or what to do, and that usually, and I go around and talk to a lot of autism parents, usually the first person that we met on this journey didn't give us the best advice.
No.
And even if somebody did give us advice, we didn't have a context for it to understand what we were being given. And I think we put a lot on ourselves, this expectation.
We do.
Nobody handed us a rule book.
We do the shoulda, woulda, couldas, and if only.
And everybody does. And everybody compares. I do this talk called The Crystal Ball of Autism, and I try to explain to people who don't have kids with autism all of the things that an autism parent feels, and that when you meet somebody, and I did this for years, where I would meet somebody that would have a neurotypical kid, and I would look at everything. They would say, oh, so are you going to preschool? And I would think, preschool? Like, I guess that's what your life is all about, but my life isn't. And my whole body would be like, I would drive by somebody driving a car, a nice car, and I would think, well, it must be nice to be able to afford a nice car. I bet your kid talks, right? And that was the dialogue in my head.
Right.
And I think we all share that. But on our best days, we put that down, and we are in the moment that we have.
With our kids where they are.
Where they are.
Right.
And grateful that we have them, because we all had a moment when we didn't think we were going to have our kids, right? But that's not, it's not like you can just flick a switch and go, I'm going to be there. I think it takes a lot. It takes a village. It takes being able to breathe. It takes doing exercises where you say, what am I grateful for? The positive, assumptive things. And leaning into the community to get the hope of whatever your deal is, you're going to be able to manage it, and it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.